Hello and welcome back to Theory Live. This is day 4 out of 5 of our live branding experiment. For those of you that have been with us throughout the week, thank you. And for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, welcome. So today we are building part of a real brand in real time, and we're using a method that Theory has been using for the past 2 years. What we've developed is a remarkably consistent way of creating really powerful brand positioning statements that works across all industries. And the reason why this works super well is not because we're experts in every industry. It's really because we're able to collaborate with our clients and get the best out of them and make sure that there's full buy-in from everybody. And it's also built on some of the foundational techniques that have been around in business for decades. So we're kind of building on top of the best of that and bringing in collaboration. Obviously now is a different time. We're not able to get into a room with folks and put sticky notes up on the wall and really gather around a table. So I got together with my team and thought, how are we going to innovate this? How are we going to push the boundary of this? And so we reflected on our own brand values. And so of our 3, we thought, okay, well, generosity is our first. What if we shared our technique with everybody out there that wanted to see it? The next is transparency. Let's give everyone a view into how decisions are made and really being open about what we're doing. And then lastly, our big brand value is collaboration. So we think that the strength in our methodology is through collaboration with the team. What if we involved everybody that was out there that wanted to listen? And so and participate. And so this was born, our live stream effort in building this brand, and we're inviting members of the public to come in and help us craft this brand story as well. So we have an amazing client team with Seed and Mill here. For those of you that are just joining for the first time, they are a terrific seed-based food company. They make tahini and halva right now. If you've never had those before, I highly recommend you go out and try it. I'm a halva addict now, just in this past week. And so without further ado, I will let the rest of my team introduce themselves and their roles for this project today.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Eliza Gerland. Hi, I'm Eliza Gerland. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Theory Marketing Partners. I am your audience representative throughout this series. So if you've been joining us so far, I'm the one you've been talking to in our chat. If you're just joining us for the first time today, I'll be interacting with you in the chat and throwing your ideas into our trusty Miro board. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves in the chat, I'll be there hanging out with you and yeah, brainstorming. And I'm excited for today. And next.
Thanks so much, Eliza. My name is Elizabeth Cook. Hi, everyone. I'm the Director of Communication Strategy here at Theory Marketing Partners. This week I'll be, well, first of all, I've had so much fun in the days leading up to this week thus far. And in this brand workshop, I'm participating as I normally do when we do brand workshops with our clients as one of the Theory stakeholders and as a participant. We've been having so much fun. Seed and Mill is a fantastic brand, and they've just been so much fun to work with. And we thank you all for your participation as well. The audience has contributed to so many important decisions that we've made thus far. So keep it up. And we're really happy to be here.
Hi all, I'm Tulio Espinosa. I'm Theory's Senior Marketing Strategist and sorry. Hi, again, I'm Tulio Espinosa. I'm Theory's Senior Marketing Strategist, and today I will be handling all the tech stuff behind the scenes and making sure that we can look at the Miro board and what we've been working on. So with that, I'll hand it over to the Seed and Mail team.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Simons. I'm one of the 3 co-founders of Seed and Mill. This is our 4th day with Theory Marketing Partners, and I'm most excited for today. Today is the day we get to talk about our customers. Over the last few days, I've watched some of the contributions that you've been making through the YouTube live stream, and just wanted to say thanks. I've been reading them and really, really enjoying it. So can't wait to hear more. And I'll pass it over to you, Nika.
Hi, everybody. My name is Janenka van Bennekom. I work at Seed and Mail, and at the moment I'm mainly focusing on wholesale relationships, online sales channels, the website, newsletters, and a bunch of other things. When I just joined Seed and Mail, we weren't able to take orders through our website yet. So the first 6 months at Seed and Mail, I spent a lot of time on the phone calling customers who wanted to place an order with us. So I've had the privilege to speak to a lot of our customers over the past 4 years. So I'm super excited about today.
Great. Well, thank you so much for these introductions. And thanks so much for the audience for tuning in today. Just so everybody knows, the audience has been able to contribute to about 30% of the work that we've done so far and the decisions that we've made. And the input has been invaluable. And so please keep it up. The way that you can get involved is by writing your ideas in the YouTube chat. And we'll call on you for specific creative prompts for voting, but also any sort of discussion points that you'd like heard. Eliza is our audience representative. She will read the comments and bring them to us live. The rest of our team is going to be working out of a virtual whiteboard software called Miro. So Tulio, if you could direct us over to the Miro board, I'd love to do just a little recap of what we've done over the weeks so far, because it's been quite a lot of important decisions. So we started off, and this is our big whiteboard, we started off with a long-term vision for the company. And we're saying, where are we going in 20 years? What is our big, audacious goal that we're going for with this company? What is the long-standing legacy that we're building? So for Seed and Mill, that would be becoming an iconic and beloved brand, creating memories, being a centerpiece for memories, and being that icon there. And also being throughout the world and having global distribution, whatever that looks like in 15 to 20 years. We also looked at brand values. I spoke about Theory's brand values, and as you can tell, they're a very important piece for decision making, as well as guidance for creating any sort of marketing material. So for them, their values are all about connection, being globally minded, and being authentic and joyful. And so when they go out to execute, from this point on, they think, does it show connection? Does it show how global we are? And does it show joy? And if not, it's not on brand. It's also a guiding force. If we need to make a decision, we need to innovate in the future. These values are something you can turn to and continue to execute creatively. So very, very important decision here with these values. On day 2, we took a look at what, how, and why. This is a big, important statement that the brand will have. So for what they do, they make delicious seed-based foods. They do it with a playful take on ingredients that are rooted in culture. That one was a hybrid of things coming from the audience. And why they do it is to bring joy through food. And so that is a very powerful statement that they can have, and this is a public-facing statement as well as an internally-facing statement that they can use to, again, introduce what they do to the world. And then yesterday, on day 3, we took a look at the competition because branding should and good positioning should fit in amongst where your competitors lie too. we mapped out all of the close competitors, not just in the tahini and halva segment, but for a particular occasion. So that occasion is you're reaching for a snack and you want something a little bit indulgent. And so these are a collection of similarly sized brands that kind of fit that particular occasion. And we decided that within this set, Seeded Mill was going to be speaking emotionally to their customers. This is something that was very, very important to the Seeded Mill team, is that they were able to connect emotionally. It's very true to who they are. And then also that they were going to focus on taste. So these are the flavors. This is the taste of what you're going to experience, the sensory of actually having this product, rather than the benefits and the function that you get from eating these particular brands. Now, there's no wrong way to do it. These are very, very successful and admired brands from all over the spectrum. So these are all great examples. And you know, one of the really big discussion points that came up yesterday was that you know, we want to grow this pie. We don't necessarily want to eat our competitors' lunch, not just because we're in the food category, but we want to grow the pie and make sure that everybody, you know, we can expand halva and tahini and seed-based products to a point where they're shelf staples. And so we looked at our competitors and what they did really well and the occasions and the niches that they fit into. And we found our particular spot within this competitive set. So this is, again, to be not directly competitive with everybody else, but to find our one lane that we can play in. We're thinking that CDMO products are always accessible, and they're kind of like your once a week sort of treat. Their particular value proposition is based on clean ingredients, really, really high quality, thoughtful selections. It's all about everyday indulgence and connecting back to a memory in a moment. Particularly for them, it's all about being sophisticated and down to earth at the same time. So you're going to be elevated in this experience, in this little special moment, but you're going to be approachable. And so it's going to be balancing that line of, this is a little special thing that everybody can have. And I think it's a really good place for halva to sit in the mind of the consumer as well. And so now we're going to actually transition over to the mind of the consumer, because this is the third pillar of positioning, is thinking that we thought about our company, we considered our competition. Now we're going to think about our customer, our core customer. We actually asked for some of you in the audience and on Instagram to contribute your thoughts about Seed and Mill and your experiences with food, so that we can learn a little bit more about you and have those stories shared. So before we dive into our first exercise, where we're constructing a persona, I wanted to take a moment to share these as inspiration, so that we can get to know our core customer a little bit better. And actually, as our audience and customer representative, I wanted to turn it over to Eliza to read some of these stories, because they're really just great. So Eliza, take it away.
Thanks, Andy. So yeah, we had some amazing posts that came from our initial ask earlier this week, and I'm really excited to share them with you. So our first Instagram post comes from Liberated Finances, who said, "This takes me right back to Israel, Palestine, with halva and coffee chocolate cake." And they've got their photo there of their homemade chocolate cake, coffee and chocolate cake. Then we have Tea and Tablespoon, who said, "It can be as simple as eggs. It can be as simple as eggs, Nigella's Turkish eggs, and it can still be the best part of your day. Cooking and eating are two of the kindest ways to say to yourself and each other, life is hard and sad and strange, so we've got to stick together." Then we have a story that came directly from the Seeded Mill inbox that says, "My fiance and I got engaged on the High Line on a bench just after a sample snack of the halva we just bought from you. We are hoping that our wedding will still happen in August and would love to have halva at the reception as a nod to that November day. We had never had halva before that day, but now it is right in our hearts." Another one that came directly from the Seed and Mill inbox says, "I have a lot of nostalgia related to halva. My mom used to set it out in little cubes with toothpicks in it for her weekly mahjong games. And if you want to pan over to the right to see more of the Instagram posts, we have one from Ardent the Homesteader, who said, "The mingling of these handcrafted ingredients is a visual of what I love the most about the cooking process: collaboration. Sharing a kitchen, enjoying a potluck, baking extra treats to give away, troubleshooting recipes with my sisters, planning meal upon meal that is our Thanksgiving weekend for 40. All these collaborative efforts bring me joy. It is about so much more than eating. Sharing food with people is for me what it's all about." Then we have Ginny Gets Flowery, who says, "There are certain meals that I make that my father-in-law loves so much. He hovered over the bowl, excited that it reminded him of what he had in Israel. Dinner was amazing that night. The meat mixture is delicious. The hummus was rich and creamy, with seed and mill tahini, of course." And lastly, we have Becca Fulmer, who says, "One of the things that I'm missing the most right now are farmers markets. Interacting with the growers of our food, seeing cooks selecting the best ingredients for their menus. Tahini might be in my top 5 favorite foods, and Seed and Mills is another level. Check them out and put their tahini on everything." And as we go through our customer personification exercise today, you soak in these stories, take in some of these images, but we're not necessarily using these as criteria. You can pull little bits from this. It's more meant to be inspiration. This is a glimpse into what current customers say about Seed and Mill, but today we're going to take some of this as inspiration and just brainstorm a whole new person based on these stories. So I will give it back to you, Andy.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that's so special about these stories is that they are so perfectly aligned with our brand values that we've already picked out, right? We talked about connection. We talked about, and we can see in these stories how it's manifesting, and people are connecting over this food, even if they're not necessarily with each other in person right now. We talked about the global element, and there is Turkey mentioned, there's Israel mentioned, just getting that global aspect. And then finally, the joy that people are getting through that. And I'm so happy for those that couple that got engaged that wants to bring halva into their wedding and their tradition. That's such an amazing story. So to think about the joy that this food is connected with is so powerful. So it fits really, really well with our values. You can see how our customers now are really living those values. Now, without any other delay, I want to get into today's exercise, which is creating a customer persona. This is a topic that, in our prior discussions with Seed and Mill is going to be a little bit difficult because before we see that we've got kind of 2 different archetypes that we've been working with. There's the very health conscious, and then there's the indulgent, and those kind of fit the 2 different big products in their portfolio. Actually, Rachel, could I call on you to speak a little bit more to that and your thought going into it? Maybe we can be transparent about our discussion that we were having before. Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, there you
Sorry.
go.
I'm off mute. Yeah. So, I mean, we agonize over this a little bit because we know that we have a lot of different customers, different reasons, and different motivations for trying and then coming back to our brand over and over. And it is really hard for us to sort of segment those people and then talk to those people with one consistent voice. So as you said, Andy, there's the health vegan, only looking for very nutritionally dense ingredients in one bucket. And then we have the other bucket, which is the people who are looking for an indulgence and something really sweet and something that's very memorable or nostalgic. And so tying those 2 personas into one person, or at least one person who we can talk to with a consistent voice, is a real challenge for us.
Yeah, and so some of the discussion was, and we get this question a lot when we do this exercise, when we start to do this. We sell to more than one type of customer. Can we do more than one persona? And here's really where we push back. And we really, really try to focus in on one core customer. You can look to the 80-20 rule and say that most of your revenue is going to come from a small segment of customers. So we do want to follow that rule, but also the fact that it makes marketing much, much easier at this stage of your company. If you're Nestle, you can afford to target 3 or 4 different personas and 3 or 4 different buyers, and you have the resources to split it up. We did have this short discussion on risk yesterday too, but just to recap, risk in marketing is the opposite of risk in finance. In finance, you want to basically diversify as much as you can, put in a lot of little bets, and smooth out the bumps in the road. It's the complete opposite with marketing. The less that you focus on one particular thing, the more risk there is that it will fail. Marketing gets returns at scale. And so if you are splitting up your resources into many little bets, they're not going to pick up traction, not going to pick up steam. So what we want to do is prioritize that first customer. So it's not to say that we're going to completely ignore our second customer. They're going to come in and be very happy, and we're glad and thankful to have them. But it's more about when we speak to the world, when we speak, we want to connect to someone on an emotional level. Who is that customer going to be, and what do they do? And so we want to think about focusing that to take out the risk in potentially splitting our marketing efforts in two. We're going to try to really create one persona here. And they may not necessarily be a hardcore vegan health conscious person. They might not be the always indulgent type of person. It might be someone in the middle. And so
can I just jump in for 1 second?
Absolutely.
Sorry to disrupt your flow, but I think this really also talks to the conversation we had yesterday about the market that we're in, because I think if we're only in the Hulva market, then the customer within the Hulva market is a very different kind of consumer in terms of who we need to message to. If we remember what we said yesterday, which is we're just in the indulgent sweet market. If when we compete with chocolate bars or we compete with ice cream brands, then the customer that we're talking to in that much wider category is very different. So I wanted to tie this back to that conversation.
Yeah, that's excellent. And thank you for bringing that up, because the market we're in this is going to be in your shelf in your pantry to just grab every time you want something to feel a little bit nostalgic, feel a little bit of connection. And whether that's tahini or halva, if the occasion is I just want to sit down and watch Netflix and I want something sweet, you eat halva. If you're about to go make a sandwich, maybe you'll reach for the tahini instead of the peanut butter. And so that's kind of that occasional, we're going to have this because it's a little bit elevated, it's a little bit special, and we're going to have that moment. So it's about capturing that consumer that has those moments. So yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up, because that's a really good tie-in. Okay, so for our exercise today, it's our goal to create a customer persona. And the way that we're going to do that is by starting down a line of particular criteria, and we're going to start to paint a picture of someone. And the way that we do that is we start to imagine what they're like, and then we begin to infer more about their deep emotional state. Demographics will tell you how to target people with media. They're going to show you, I'm gonna pick up these Facebook ad criteria. I'm gonna buy an ad in this particular magazine, but they don't tell you how to talk to people. They're pretty shallow metrics as they go, and they don't typically tend to be as powerful indicators as behavior and preference. So we're going to start with the demographics of who this person is, and start to think about what do they like, where do they live, what are their brands, start to imagine a person. And then we're going to get really, really deep into their emotional state. This is the how you talk to them. So we're going to start with a name, demographics, where they work, what their favorite brands are, and maybe who they get advice from in the world, not just with when I'm grocery shopping or looking for food, but just in general. Who do they turn to for advice in their life? And then we're going to start to think about, okay, what are their maybe hopes and aspirations, not in the category, but just in general? What are they looking for in life right now? Then we start to think about their needs. What do they need in life right now? What are they seeking and getting versus what do they want in life? And then finally, we're going to look at their fears. What are they worried about in life? And having these having these deep emotional elements really, really helps us communicate to these folks and speak to these emotional needs more so than just, you're going to eat this and it's going to be delicious. That's very surface level. We're going to get really, really deep with this. So the way that we're going to do this exercise is we're going to split this up into two, because this is quite a lot to write at once, especially for those of you that are participating at YouTube. So at the beginning of this exercise, I'm going to ask folks to think up all of the categories from name, demographics, work, favorite brands, advice, and then we're going to stop there and record our answers. And then we're going to do another round where we go deep into that emotional state. You're going to still continue to create for this one person that you're thinking of. But we're just going to do it in two chunks. Another thing before.
Andy, I have a question.
Yep.
So two questions. Firstly, what's the difference between the blue stickies and the yellow stickies? And then when you say name, do you mean one of our names, like the person who's working on it, or do you mean the name that we're going to make up for the personification?
Good questions. So firstly, the blue stickies, those belong to the audience participants. So we're going to be recording what you write down in the YouTube chat onto the blue stickies, and so you can keep track of, this is where our comments are showing up. So it's how we know how much that the audience is bringing. So that's what the blue sticky notes mean. Good question. And the second one is, for name, it's not going to be our names, because our rule for this workshop is that once it's on the board, it belongs to all of us. So there are no owners of ideas. The name is the name of the persona, and that's the person that you're imagining. So giving them a name is a really good way to actually connect them. We can say, oh, what does Kelly want, and what do they need, and how do we speak to Kelly, as opposed to, how do we speak to a bunch of demographics, right? How do we speak to 18 to 34-year-old men? That's much more difficult than how do we speak to Kelly, right? So we're giving them a name so that we can have this shorthand. So invent a name as well would be really, really helpful. Okay, so I think we are ready to go into our first exercise. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And again, we're going name all the way through advice. So I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes. And if you're in the audience, now is the time to write in your input into the YouTube chat. We're going to record it here. Okay, without any further delay, we will start the timer. For those of you that are just tuning in, we are constructing a persona for the Seed and Mill brand, and we're asking for your contributions here too. So thinking about constructing a persona with name, demographics, where they work, what their favorite brands are, where they turn for advice right now is the first part of what we're going to construct here. And for our participants at Seed and Mill in theory, I'm going to ask everyone if we can stay in one vertical for this exercise so we don't get muddled up. As great as this is coming up, just as a reminder to the audience, actually, Julio, if you could move the frame over a little bit so they could see the criteria. Thank you. We're looking at creating a name, demographics, where they work, what their favorite brands are, and where they go for advice. And Eliza will be recording your responses. So I'll ask the audience and the team to just reflect on your experiences with the category and with yourself. This could be someone that you even know. What we're going to do is kind of blend all these together into one person. So feel free to pull on real life. This is where it comes in.
Just a quick question, Andy. Are we only looking at the first couple of rows for now?
Yep, we're just going to chunk it out. Right now, we're looking at name, demographics, work, favorite brands, and advice. We're going to just finish up this chunk, and then we're going to keep going into the bottom. If you're feeling inspired, feel free to keep going.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's okay. Keep going if you like.
Thanks.
So we've just got a little under a minute left. Please keep the comments coming in the YouTube chat. Would love to hear your perspective. This is super valuable. Eliza's going to keep typing this and keep going as we chunk it out.
Andy, this reminds me of when we were in digital marketing class, building customer personas and empathy maps. And it's just like a nice reminder of those exercises.
Yeah, thanks. Doing this is kind of like a hybrid of a persona and an empathy map, because we want to go really deep into what the customer is thinking and feeling. And yeah, that's our very soothing timer from Miro. For those of you in the audience, please keep going, keep contributing, and those of us here on the brand team, we're going to keep going with some of the deeper criteria now. So I'm just going to read those out and explain those. Julie, if you wouldn't mind going over to the criteria. So now we're going to think about, you've started to paint a picture of this person. Think about, what are their hopes and aspirations? What are they looking for in life? Then we want to list out their needs versus wants versus fears, and what are they afraid of? This isn't to necessarily prey on the fears of our customers, but it's to get to understand them at a really deep level. If there are there any questions on these criteria before we jump in? Nope. Okay, so let's set the timer for 5 minutes again, and we're going to fill out this deep emotional profile of the folks that we've started to create here. All right, and so for those of you in the audience, thank you so much for these amazing contributions. We've moved on to the deep emotional state. So again, those criteria are: what are their hopes and aspirations? What are their needs, wants, and fears? And as you've started to paint a picture of this person, let's start to think about what those might be. It's okay if you take bits and pieces of people you know and bits and pieces of yourself. Feel free to put that in, because that adds a really, really valuable color in there. So once again, we are creating a deep persona that we can really create empathy with and project onto our advertising and marketing to say, what would this person think? And now we're getting into the really, really deep emotional need state. So for those of you in the audience, thank you so much for your amazing contributions so far. Let's start to think about what are their hopes, aspirations, needs, wants, and fears, and really so that we can create deep empathy for this person. So we're going to extend the timer just a little bit. It looks like our team is just about wrapping up, but we want to give a chance for the audience to also go in and contribute, because again, they've made up about 30% of our final decisions that we've made about the brand so far, and it's really, really valuable that we have that as well. So please, thank you, please, and thank you for your contributions. Just take a little bit over a minute and a half left. We've got just over a minute left. If there are any little contributions or edits you'd like to make, or to go a little bit deeper for those of us on our team, now is the time to go and add those in. And once again, thanks so much to the audience for your contributions in this, creating this really, really deep person that we can create empathy with. These are really, really valuable, and we'll hope to bring all of these together. Okay, so there's our very soothing and unobtrusive timer from Miro. That says it's time's up for this exercise. If you're contributing still on the YouTube channel, please keep it up. Eliza's going to continue to write in what you've done so far. And thank you for those contributions. So for our team, what I'd like us all to do is run through and just kind of say out loud who this person is that you've constructed. And I'm happy to go first. So my person's name is Sam. And they are 28 years old. They live in Brooklyn with their partner, and they don't have children yet. Sam is a magazine editor, works at a big magazine in New York City. They really like Patagonia. It's a brand that they relate to, something that's aspirational for them, even though they live in the city. They turn to their friends for advice first and foremost, and they hear what their friends are saying, and that really shapes buying behavior. Sam also looks online for reviews when making a big purchase just to validate that. But again, hearing things from friends is a big way to make purchases there. Sam is really interested in succeeding at their job at the moment. Getting a promotion is really top of mind for them. They need more exercise. Patagonia is an aspirational brand for them, and they feel like they want to get outdoors. And so that's one thing that Sam is really concerned about. Sam is also looking for social validation. So for their friends to look up to them and for validation in purchases and decisions and things like that, very, very socially conscious. And lastly, in terms of what the fears are, Sam is worried about lack of direction in life. You can see the publishing industry right now, where that's headed. What does that necessarily mean? It's a little bit scary, and also lack of connection, especially now. Maintaining that spot that friends play in Sam's life is really, really important. And so they're worried about necessarily losing that connection as this is a pivotal age that people start to move away and change jobs and things like that. So worried about losing that connection there. So that's my persona. Would whoever came up with Kate like to go next?
Yeah, that would be me. So I call my persona Kate. I was looking for a name that's a bit more contemporary, but I kind of got writer's block and then the timer went off. So it's Kate for now. She is between 25 and 55, which I was trying to decide between more 45 or 55. I made it a bit wider. She lives in a city or a larger town, is married and has 1 or 2 kids. Kate, in my eyes, would be a yoga instructor or a teacher or work at a PR agency. And that's mostly because Kate really enjoys being with people and interacting with people in her daily life and also in her job. She shops at Alo for her yoga clothes, but instead of really turning to brands, she really enjoys going to local farmers markets. She seeks advice from her friends and also her family, but also follows a lot of people and brands that she really admires on Instagram. I was struggling a little bit between the wants and the hopes. But I think what she wants mostly is being connected. She wants to make the world a better place, which might be more of an aspiration. And she wants to take care of people in her life. She needs to travel to take a break from the city and just explore, get new experiences, explore different cultures, and she needs to stay healthy. Her hopes and aspirations are to be with her loved ones, be kind, and make the world a better place. And she really fears to be lonely.
That's great. What a good persona. I can really picture this person. One thing that I'll ask you to do is, instead of doing an age range, if you could just pick one age for this person.
Yep. Got it.
But other than that, this is excellent. I feel like I know who this person is. Okay, so does whoever wrote Shari, do they want to go next?
That was me.
Okay.
All right.
And you could just pick one age for Shari too. That would be great. 35 to 40 is a little bit closer, but.
That's okay. So Shari is 39. She lives in New York. She's married. She's got 2 children. Her kids are 12 and 10. She works part-time in the not-for-profit sector. She'd like to actually take on more hours, but her kids keep her a bit busy, and family life, so she is aspiring to get back to full-time work soon. She shops at Whole Foods. She likes to wear Anthropologie clothes. She likes to buy Anthropologie sort of accessories. She cares about her visual aesthetic, but and also just likes that brand. She loves to turn to her family and friends for advice, but she reads Chrissy Teigen and Michelle Obama on Twitter and takes advice from them too. She likes to sort of think about the world as a bigger picture. She thinks about sort of world politics, world peace, etc. She's very concerned about not being a bystander. So she really wants to contribute to the world. She likes to speak up. She likes to listen. She is constantly searching for human connection. Health and well-being is very important to her, for her kids, her family, her friends. She thinks about what she eats, and she thinks about exercise. She probably doesn't exercise enough, but does think about it. This is partially me, but not partially me, in case you're wondering. What else did I say? Travel. She wants to make an impact. I've sort of said all of that. And then finally, her fears are loneliness, dysfunctional society, and watching the world go by is a fear. Not, she wants to contribute.
Yeah, that's great. And you know, yourself and your friends tend to come out in these exercises too, which is why we make a blend of all of these things. Really, really nice. Okay, and lastly, we've got Nancy here. Whoever did Nancy, do you want to read through?
Yeah, that would be me. So I came up with Nancy. She's a 68-year-old female living in Portland, Oregon. She's married and she has 2 children. For work, she's a writer, and she's also very involved in the local arts and culture scene. She likes to shop at a range of brands. I focus mostly on clothes and goods and furniture and like kitchen supplies. So Williams Sonoma, Pottery Barn, Cost Plus World Market, Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack, J. Crew and Chico's. She loves the higher end brands, but then also always gets excitement from finding a good deal. She takes her advice from her kids, her spouse, her friends and family, other writers she respects, and newsletters that she subscribes to. The next one was wants. She wants good health and happiness, success for herself and her children, basically her family, and also an end to war. Thinks about the world and wants all of these things, like good health and happiness, not only for her immediate family, but also for the world at large. She has a huge sense of curiosity, and she has a need to fill this sense of curiosity. She does that either with travel or with reading. And so she needs human connection and seeks out to fill her sense of curiosity through human connection and also exercise and getting outdoors. She needs to, or next is hopes and aspirations. I lost my place. Good health and happiness, human connection, hopes and aspirations. To see her family and friends as much as possible. I have 2 monitors going here, so I'm to see her friends and family as much as possible. Those are her hopes and aspirations. And then her fears are poor health for herself and her family.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing. Again, I can really picture this person. Eliza, I know you've got a big job here, 3 really robust personas here. Would you like to go through these? I'm also happy to read another one if you want to take a turn. You want to start with Sarah?
Sure, I'll start with Sarah, and then you can take Kate and I'll take Andrea.
Okay.
All right, so first we have Sarah. She's 33 years old. She lives in Brooklyn. She doesn't have any kids. She's a college graduate. For things that she does, she likes to take photos of her food for Instagram. I don't think that's her full-time job, but I think that's a side hustle. Her favorite brands are Lululemon, Sweet Green, Whole Foods. She gets her advice from her friends, from her siblings, and from her cousins who are like her siblings. Her family is very close. She'd like to be a full-time influencer, but she doesn't have the time or know how to grow right now and can't balance that. She needs more stability in her career, and she needs to have a constant connection with her family. She wants to find a partner who supports her emotionally, and she wants to be healthy, but to also live a balanced life. and she's afraid of being alone, but she doesn't want to interrupt her independent life. And that is our Sarah.
Great. Here is Kate. Kate is 24 and lives in Los Angeles. She's single and doesn't have kids and works as an actress and model. Her favorite brand is Sweet Green, very health conscious, and she takes advice from influencers, people that are slightly aspirational for her. She really hopes to make it in her career in the acting world. She needs to eat healthy. This is something that's very, very important for her and her career. Spend time outdoors with friends, and is really, really hungry for success. She's worried about maybe failing as an actress or model in this career. It can be a little bit risky, so she's worried about it. And that is Kate.
All right. And lastly, we have Andrea. Andrea, we're not sure how old she is, but she lives in an urban setting. She is a biology PhD student. She doesn't have cable. She's a big cooking enthusiast, but she seems really focused on her PhD. She does get her advice from Instagram, from her friends, and from other brands. Her hopes and aspirations are to be a professor once she gets her PhD. She needs support from her friends and family while she's in school pursuing this really big dream. Her wants are easy options to stay healthy in her busy life and to support her cooking hobbies. So options to support her cooking hobbies. And her fears are burnout during her PhD from lack of support and lack of time. And that's Andrea.
Amazing. So these are our personas. We have 7 of them, which is a huge number. And so our next step in this is voting on the aspects that we really like. As you can see, when it's an individual creating one persona, it's either ourselves or someone we know really well. But now when we blend this together, the experience that we have from our customers and each other, we're going to have a really well-rounded person that's really, really deep. So we're connecting all of these pieces. So our next activity is to vote. And this time we're going to get a lot of votes. We're going to get 10 votes for everybody to go across all of these categories and just vote on aspects that you think are really strong and aspects that you like. We're also going to ask the audience to help vote on it too. Now that you've heard all 7 personas, if you could write in the YouTube comments, this is one that really stood out to me. This is one that sounds right. Just let us know and Eliza will record your vote. So I'm going to set up the voting option now. And this is for our persona. I'm going to give us 5 minutes to vote because there's a lot to go through here. And we're going to get 10 votes. And kind of the goal with this is that we're going to create a hybrid of all of these attributes and all of these people and turn it into one. Also, please don't forget to vote on a name. That's also very, very important. People tend to overlook that one. So I'm going to start the voting now. And we'll take 5 minutes to vote on 10 aspects that we like across all of these categories. For those of you that are tuning in on the YouTube, please let us know which aspects you think are the strongest and write that in the comments, and Eliza will make sure to record your vote as well.
And Andy, quick question. Those stakeholders from this Theory and Seed and Null team also have 10 votes?
Yep, everybody gets 10 votes.
Thanks.
Okay, I've just recorded my 10 votes. Tulio is doing a good job of showing all of the different categories here. But if you see something you like, please call it out in the comments and we'll make sure to record your vote here as well. We're creating a hybrid persona of all of these attributes. We've got about 2 minutes left on this vote. And please don't forget to vote on a name. That's a very important part. Still got about 2 minutes left in voting. If you're on the YouTube channel, please call out what you like and we'll make sure to record your vote in this persona as well.
Tulio, can you zoom out so okay, I think you're doing it now. The audience is having trouble seeing which categories are in which column.
Excellent.
I
We've
just
got
finished
a
my
little
voting,
over a
but this
minute
was
left.
really hard. There were. Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just
No,
reminded
just
we have
how
a
this
little
is.
over a
There were
minute
so
left.
many. There were so many great options. Like it was really difficult to choose.
Yeah, that's kind of the philosophy of this is we're going to expand what we're doing, generate a lot of options, and then narrow it down. And narrowing it down can be tougher than generating at points too. So I feel that. So we're just waiting to wrap up for the audience to give in their thoughts as well on where we should go. Please don't forget to vote on a name and throughout all these categories, and hopefully we'll create a hybrid persona of all of these people. Okay, 10 seconds left in the vote. Okay, the voting is now over. Thank you so much for your great contributions. I'll ask for a little help from my team to highlight some of the most popular votes. And then we can get a clear picture of where we're headed.
And the
for the
blue
audience, you can see
stickies get the dark. Yeah, the blue stickies get the darker green teal color.
That's right. So we'll the yellow winners will be in gold. The blue winners will be in a darker blue. It's a little bit of a scavenger hunt. And what we'll do after the end of this is we'll look at what the most popular aspects are in each of the horizontal categories and make a decision on who this person is. And we can take multiple from each category. People are more complicated than just one sticky note. So we can, if there are a few winners, we can pull those over as well. So we are just taking the time now to look at what are the top voted categories, and we'll combine these together. Let's hold off on those with one vote for now.
Wow, we really didn't get a lot of name votes.
That's why I kept reminding.
I will say the audience was fond of Shari a lot and Kate.
And Kate, okay, let's make Kate darker blue as well. Okay, I think we've got all of the categories with multiple votes in them. If we have a tiebreaker, we can always bring those over too. But let's now make a decision and debate which in each category we'd like to bring over into our final persona. So let's start with the name. We have multiple votes for Kate, Sam, and Shari. Would anybody like to advocate for one name that they particularly like?
Well, so I have a question, and this is for Yannicka and Rachel. A lot of these personas that we came up with as both an audience and as a group were women versus men. And so I'm curious as to like who your customer is existing from Seed and Mill, if you have an idea of the male to female ratio.
Jan, why don't you answer that?
So we see a huge part of our customers is female. I think it's safe to say it's probably around 80-20 even.
All right, so then this persona should probably be female then. That's good to know. I chose Sam for a couple of reasons. One is that it's gender neutral, and the other one is that SAM is seed and mill. So that was my my Easter egg to put in there. But that's why I liked Sam. But Sam could very easily be a woman as well. Would anybody like to talk about Kate or Shari, and we can make a decision on this category?
I'm going to jump in and just make a quick decision. I love Sam. I didn't think of the S&M element there, and I like the fact that it can be a man or a woman. So that's great.
Okay, excellent. So seed and mill it is. Okay, let's talk about demographics. So we have the two most popular categories here. We have 34 and lives in a large city, married with kids, or 39 in New York, married with kids. So, mid 30s or late 30s, if there's a particular one that stands out. Are we ready to?
I'd go mid 30s and in a city because it's broader and it kind of brings in a slightly younger demographic, which is important there.
Okay, I might want to be a little more specific about which city it is, because again, we want to have a specific person that we want here. So if I might make a recommendation, we pick this 39 New York and just change the age to 34. Would that be okay?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing there, Andy, is that it's tempting to put New York because it's a big city. We already have the bulk of our customers are in New York. But if you said to me, where do I want my customers to be? I would love to have more customers in LA or San Francisco, or other big metro regions. I mean, we can leave it as New York for now, but it just doesn't bring in as much of the aspiration as opposed to the status quo.
Yeah. So again, this is just one customer. This is the archetypal customer. And so if they live in a big city like New York, that could also be Chicago. It could be Dallas. It could be somewhere else in the country too. But for the sake of this, creating empathy with the person, we want to really be specific. But I think that's great that we want to look at larger urban areas too. Okay, so we have one vote in the work area, which is yoga instructor, teacher, PR agency. Within those three, was there particularly one that people liked?
The reason I voted for this one is because I think it exemplified the fact that they probably do a lot, and that I think, and it depends upon the frequency with which you buy products, but Seed and Mill is a premium product, and so thinking about income level is something that I pushed myself to to involve in this decision.
Yeah, Rachel, is there one that is particularly speaking to you?
I mean, I'm going to probably think of going with teacher, because I think a yoga instructor is also a teacher. I think the word teacher could be a school teacher or, a coach, or an academic. It brings in a really broad category of person and career.
Great.
I want to chime in on that, because what broad is actually what we want to avoid. So it's more helpful. I mean, a gym teacher is very different than an English teacher, and like a college professor is very different than an elementary school teacher. And so how we talk to those people will be very different. I personally kind of like what Lizzie said about, potentially having being a yoga instructor as a part-time hobby that supports, an income level. But as far as a full-time job, I don't have
Yeah, it's such a good point, Eliza. I'm being a bit lazy about this because I'm trying to make it broad. And you're right, the point is to make this narrow. And I guess, I wanted to think of, okay, yoga instructor, that resonated, but are there enough yoga instructors in the world, and are they earning enough money to be buying premium products? I was worried about that not allowing us to talk broadly enough to enough people.
Yeah. So again, we think about risk in marketing, right? There's actually riskier to be broader. So the narrower we are in this archetype, the less risk we have. And I know it's counterintuitive to how we think about risk, but it's tough to do. I just wrote high school teacher. Does that fulfill that persona well for you?
Yeah. Yes. Am I making the final vote here?
Yeah. Is that final vote approved?
I'm sensing some hesitation.
Yeah, this is so hard. I don't know, Yanin, can you jump in? What's your thought? This was your persona as well.
Yeah, all the points make a lot of sense. I do feel maybe yoga instructor would fit our customers a little bit better in general, which is also not to say if we pick one job here, we're not going to all of a sudden only focus on yoga instructors. So I do feel with also our existing customers, but also our aspirational customers, maybe people that are interested in yoga and stuff like that would fit a bit better than high school teacher. Not to rule out high school teachers as customers, but
the audience is saying working professional that has a side yoga practice, like a full-time creative marketing professional that also teaches yoga like a couple of days a week. That's what the audience is saying. And yeah,
I can live with that, but I don't know if that's specific enough for you guys.
Well, PR agency is on here, so maybe they're someone who works at a PR agency with a part-time yoga teaching job.
That sounds fine to me.
Great. Yeah. And this is tough. It's not to say that we're going to only sell to people that work at PR agencies with the part-time yoga hustle. It's more to say, this is the archetype. This is the type of person that we're going for, and to create empathy with this person. So this is not narrowing down our audience to this. We're only selling to Sam. It's really to say, this is the type of person that we're going for. I know it's tough because it's counter to the way that we typically think about risk, and taking a stance on things can be hard. Okay, let's look at favorite brands. We have a lot of votes for Lululemon, Sweet Green, and Whole Foods. Also Anthropology and Whole Foods. Banza Pasta. I've never heard of Banza Pasta before, but it sounds fun from the name. I think we can comfortably, because they're pretty close, I think we can comfortably move both of these over. How do we feel about that?
I love it.
Great. In terms of advice, we have from her friends, siblings, cousins who are like siblings, and also friends, family, Instagram influencers. Do those feel right to you? We can probably bring over both of those as well.
Yep.
I really like the color of cousins that feel like siblings too. That's really, it adds this really nice color to it. You can kind of picture who this person is and how much they rely on family.
Yeah.
Okay, hopes and aspirations. We have a connection to make the world a better place and taking care of people, and also world peace, health for herself and family, connecting to the community and contributing to the world. So she doesn't want to be a bystander. So two very powerful hopes and aspirations. The beauty of this exercise is we can take multiple things as we go down and have a more complex person. How do we feel about these two?
Well, I think they're very similar, to be honest. I would be happy with the connection, make the world a better place, take care of people. I think really is just a more succinct way of saying what Shari said.
Yeah, we can. I like the element of, and I want to copy this over actually. I like the element of doesn't want to be a bystander. I'd like to add that in if that's okay.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Okay, excellent. Then we have wants. Oh, sorry, we have needs here. Let me flip these. We have needs here. So let's see, this Sam needs stability in her career, to eat healthy, spend time outdoors with friends, travel and stay healthy, and human connection, exercise to fill her sense of curiosity. I'm seeing a lot of overlap between these categories, a lot of votes under needs. Perhaps we can find a way to summarize all of these.
Well, the one differentiator that I really liked about Nancy was that word curiosity. I think that really does speak to our brand and who we are looking for to connect with. And so I would really like that word in there.
Great. I think too, sometimes our needs and our wants get a little bit jumbled when we're doing this exercise. I mean, for this exercise, we can maybe delineate between like needs are something that like this person could not live or survive or thrive without, and wants are like, this is what fulfills this person and brings them to that next level of happiness. So, because I know we have a lot of overlap between the two rows. Like travel, for example, would be a want versus a need.
Yeah, we can absolutely put that under wants as well. I'd also like to nominate to eat healthy and spend time outdoor with friends. That's also kind of a want. I think those are two really strong wants. Any other?
Or maybe well, I'm just thinking about Sam being married with kids. Maybe it's spending time outdoors with family and friends, or just time outdoors, period. Because not a lot of moms might be able to get away from their family for time outdoors.
I also really want to advocate for this is in the wants, not needs, but easy options to stay healthy in her busy life and support her cooking hobbies. I didn't vote on that. And right after I submitted my vote, I was like, I wish I voted on that. I think it was a really great contribution from the audience. And I also think it's something that that is, yeah, it just really resonates with me.
Yeah, me too, Lizzie. Actually, when you reread it, you really get a feel for who that person is. There's something really relatable to that description. I liked it too.
That's great. And then finally, for fears, there's lack of direction in life, lack of connection, and also loneliness, poor health for herself and others, dysfunctional society and conflict, doesn't want the world to pass her by. How do we feel about these two?
So I really like the last one. I just think it's a little bit long.
It's okay if it's long for this one because people are complex. So it's totally fine if we have one or two or a long one.
Okay, because I do think that basically covers all the previous things we discussed for our persona. So
Yeah, Rachel, how do you feel about this?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's as Yaninka, I mean, it was my sort of contribution to this exercise. So obviously I wrote it, but I'm trying to force myself to think narrowly rather than broadly. So I know you just said it's okay for it to be long, but for the point of this exercise, I guess I ended up voting for the other one, which was just shorter and a bit more focused, but they are very similar. So if it's okay for this exercise to pick both, I'm happy with the longer one.
It's totally okay to pick both.
And if we can also talk about things if they're long and there's something that you don't want in there, we can also edit that out is the other thing. Like, I mean, if lack of connection is, I mean, to me, that's not necessarily the same thing as loneliness. So, if she's afraid of both of those things, lack of connection and loneliness, then keep them both. But we could, I mean, if we wanted to narrow it down, we could say what we maybe don't want to keep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can take out dysfunctional society. I mean, that was just a way of me visualizing this person reading the New York Times, shaking her head with frustration about what's going wrong with the world.
I don't like that though. I think that really paints an interesting picture.
Yeah. How does that connect to her choices about food is another very, very interesting question. I think there is a very strong connection there, but we could go down a very long rabbit hole here, Andy.
Yeah. So here's how it connects to food. That's an amazing question. So here's how it connects. Our brand value, one of them is being global and doing that. So when we talk about our connections to people and we talk about the brand that we want to connect and we're speaking to Sam, if we want to demonstrate global, we can say this is how we connect across cultures and in a positive way of sharing and uniting the world and bringing it together. So if she's worried about dysfunction, we can give the message of unity when we speak about globalism. So that's an example of how we might do that. And so when we're speaking specifically to Sam, we know that that's kind of the message that she wants to hear. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. Sorry, you just used a word that really resonated around unity. And I think globalism and also, and I'm just going to say this quickly here and then not go down a rabbit hole, but I just also want to remind the audience and ourselves that the products that we sell, a lot of cultures fight over the ownership of our products. So for example, there's often a lot of conflict about who was the first to eat halva and tahini. Is this an Israeli food? Is this a Palestinian food? Is this a Jewish food? Is it an Arab food? And I always, as a brand, have wanted to embrace a unified or take a unifying position on that question. It's really important to me that we remember that lots of cultures have enjoyed, lots of religions have enjoyed and have a historic connection to this food. And that is very much a brand value that I have. So I think, without going into too much on the politics, I think this is an important reminder of that.
Yeah, and hopefully that answers your connection about how to speak to a food brand about this, right? And that's so interesting, having global as a value, having this so many different cultures taking ownership of this. Yeah, I think that's really powerful. Okay, so let's now take a look at Sam and read out this one persona that we've constructed through the experience of each other here and in the audience. Really powerful connection. Now this is one really deep person that we can create content to. So her name is Sam. She's 34 and lives in New York and is married with kids. She works at a PR agency and likes to do yoga as a part-time instructor. She shops at Anthropologie, Whole Foods, wears Lululemon maybe on weekends, and eats sweet green salad during the weekday. She takes advice from her friends and family. She does look to Instagram influencers and people she looks up to. And she's very, very close with her family. She's got cousins who are like siblings as well. She hopes to make a connection to the world, to make it a better place and to connect with people in her community. She doesn't want to be a bystander. She needs human connection to fill her sense of curiosity. She needs unity. She wants to stay healthy, spend time outdoors with their friends and family. She really wants to travel, and she wants easy options to stay healthy in her busy life to support her cooking hobbies. And she's worried about lack of direction in life, how things are changing, and how that might affect her connections that she relies so much on as a bedrock. She's worried about loneliness, poor health, and also dysfunction in society and conflict. She doesn't want the world to pass her by. So this is Sam, and this is the person that we're going to speak to when we create marketing. So now when we create a piece of content, we'll say, how would Sam react to that? When we create a new flavor, what does Sam think of that flavor? Or we create an experience, something like that. So this is now the person, not what does our target demographic of this age and this location feel? It's what does Sam feel? And this is a very, very useful tool for creating empathy in a consistent way with our customer. So it's been really tough to focus it in and create one archetype, but it's really, really, again, a powerful tool. And now we understand her need state, so we can create a brand positioning statement that really speaks to her. So that wraps it up for this exercise. I want to take a step back and review everything, because now we have all the pieces we need to create a really solid, concise, powerful positioning statement, right? So
Andy, before you do that, I just want to take a step back, and I know I'm trying to be mindful of time, but one of the things that I wanted to have you clarify a little bit was in certain points during this exercise, we really were trying to be specific about who this person was. And then at other points, we were indicating that and reinforcing that it's okay to be broad. So can you maybe talk a little bit about demographics versus psychographics and the instances in which we are pushing for specificity versus complexity?
Yeah, and so I wouldn't necessarily characterize it as broad. I would characterize it as deep, because people are complex and they have deep emotions and they feel more than one thing. So when we want to be specific, and this is a great question, by the way, when we want to be specific, it's with picturing a person. Where do they work? Who are they? The demographics. This can give us an idea of how to spend media and where to spend it. But more importantly, we can conjure an image of what this person looks like. And that's the really important part, is we know we can picture this is who this person is. They're shopping at Whole Foods. They're in line at Sweetgreen. They're wearing Lululemon. This is where they work. They work at a PR agency in New York City during the day. We can picture who this person is and then start to create empathy with them. So in that element, we do want to be specific so that we can have one singular image of a person. We get into the emotional profile. This is where we want to be really deep. So it's okay to have multitudes within that, because people are complex and they have more than one need, right? If the only thing we cared about was Instagram influencers and that's it, this would not be a very deep and relatable profile. So we want to really think about those little details that actually create really reliable colors so that we can relate to the person. So the deeper the emotional need state, the better a tool it is for us to create empathy. Does that answer your question, Lizzie?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Excellent. And I'm so glad you asked too. Okay, so now we have all of the pieces we need to create a really concise and powerful brand statement. So in 20 years, we're looking to become an iconic and beloved brand that creates memories. Our values are I just want to make sure we scroll over to the right values. Our values are connection, global, and joy. Our what, how, and why is that we bring joy through flavor. We do that by making delicious seed food products with a playful take on ingredients rooted in culture. And where we stand competitively, we are going to speak to the taste and the experience, the sensory experience that people get when they're enjoying these products. And we're going to speak in an emotional way. And our value proposition is to be, that the staple on your shelf that is both sophisticated but also approachable. It's going to be that kind of special treat when you want something extra nice, you're going to reach for Seed and Mill, and that's our competitive position. And then for our customer, we're going to speak to this person named Sam, and we've got a good sense for the fact that what she does and how she relates to her family, what she wants in life, and what she needs and fears in life as well. Looking for connection. She's got a global mindset. She wants to make a difference in the world. And she's very, very, she passionately cares about making connections with her family and friends. So this is the type of person that we're going to speak to. So now these are all the parts that we're going to take. And tomorrow, in our final exercise, we're going to combine all of these elements together and put them into a formula. And that formula is going to turn into a long, messy paragraph. And then we're going to take that paragraph and narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down until we get to 10 words or fewer. So tomorrow is the big day, the culmination of all of the activities that we've got so far. There's a lot of pressure tomorrow. It's the final moment. And so we hope you'll tune in for that, where it all comes together finally in this statement. I want to make a few quick plugs. Again, thank you to our amazing clients at Seed and Mill. They're so good. I've been eating their halva all week, and I'm an absolute addict. If you want some, go to seedandmill.com and order some for yourself. It's super worth trying if you've never had halva before. It's so good. If you want to find out about how to work with us in the future, go to theorymarketingpartners.com. There's a link in the description, and we've got a contact page too if you're interested in maybe doing something like this for yourselves, or you have questions on this process and you'd like to try it on your own. So
sorry to interrupt you. We do have a question from the audience I think is really pertinent to answering, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Oh, please.
So Joseph from the audience says, in a marketplace business, do you create a customer persona for both sides of the market? One that represents the supply and one that represents the demand? And if so, how many of these exercises that we are doing in this series would you duplicate for both sides?
That is a really good question. So we've worked with marketplaces in the past, and the way that we think about it is, which side is the revenue coming from? If the majority of your marketing is going to be recruiting the revenue side, then we create a persona for that side if possible. So we really, really do try to focus in on where our marketing effort is going to go for creating revenue for the business. If Facebook is a two-sided marketplace where you've got advertisers and users, we would create an advertiser persona, because that's where the money is coming from. That's who we want to really learn to speak to. You can think of the users as the supply side. So that's typically how we approach two-sided marketplaces when we've done it before. But that's open to a robust debate. What's our marketing goal? Is it to create more supply, or is it to create more revenue coming in? One definition of marketing that I really like is marketing is getting and keeping customers, and customers give you money. So we think about that revenue side typically when we build a persona. But that's an excellent question. Thank you so much.
And I just want to also say, for any viewers who may have businesses that are more B2B, how would you modify this for a B2B business versus a consumer-facing business?
Another really good question for B2B. And we've done a handful of B2B companies as well. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, that this framework works universally for any type of business. When we work with B2B, we don't really think about it's just a different type of customer, right? They take longer to make decisions. They really think it through. The buy cycle is long, the purchase size is bigger, but at the end of the day, it's still a person making a decision. And so when we're doing a persona for them, we're really creating and thinking through that person. When in the world of branding, there is a blurry line between B2C and B2B. It's really just business to buyer. Whoever that may be, and whatever behavior they think through in making that purchase decision. Does that answer that question? Excellent. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for the amazing questions. Thank you for tuning in today. Tomorrow is the big finale where we take all of the pieces together and make a concise positioning statement. I'm continue to be humbled by the amazing contributions from our YouTube audience. We could not do this without you, and your contributions have taken a firm place in this brand moving forward. If you want to buy some halva, and I highly recommend it, go to seedandmill.com. Also, if you want to work with us and you want to find out more about what we do, theorymarketingpartners.com is our URL. There's a link in the YouTube description here as well. Feel free to get in touch. There's a contact us page that goes straight to my email, and I always respond as fast as possible. So feel free to get in touch. And thank you all very much, and I will see you tomorrow for our big finale.
See you, everyone.
Thanks so much.